success slide?
We do.
Excellent. Then I'll get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Jessie Hendricks, and I am the Outreach Coordinator for the Energy Smart and WasteWise programs. We work with businesses across Minnesota and especially in the metro area here on improving their sustainability. And this can look like a lot of different things. Today, I'm going to talk very briefly, just about 20 minutes here, about slide go forward here. There we go. Who we are, why this matters, both in the bigger picture and also for your business, what working with WasteWise looks like, and then, of course, we will talk about what grant funding is available, because there is a significant amount of grant funding there that can help you make these changes. So first up, we are part of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, but I want to make sure it's very clear you do not have to be a member of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce to work with WasteWise. I hope you caught the webinar with Deed and our sister program back in November with Energy Smart. If not, I definitely recommend you check that one out and just learn about energy efficiency in your business. But both programs are big focuses on improving sustainability to ideally help that business save money and work towards a more sustainable business community and environmental health. But once again, you do not have to be a chamber member, though we would love for you to join us, and I'm open to questions on that too. And WasteWise exists because of this big goal that the metro area counties have of achieving a 75% recycling rate by 2030. And we've been stuck around like this 48, 49% area for a few years now. So we need a big push in the next 5 years to help us get up to that recycling rate. Why this matters, why these counties have the goal? Of course, it's the environmental health. The more we're able to recycle, the fewer virgin projects we need to find and dig up and source, the less we have to send to landfills or to waste for energy facilities, and the fewer greenhouse gas emissions we'll release from our landfills. A lot of great environmental reasons there. And those environmental benefits also lead to marketing opportunities. More and more people these days are shopping and looking for businesses that have sustainability goals. And there's studies that actually show that employees are more satisfied and more loyal if they work for a company that is working towards sustainability goals. Always great for keeping our workforce happy there. And then, of course, there are some regulatory issues. There's more and more counties and cities adding in like green to go ordinances. If that applies to you, then working with WasteWise can help you make sure that you're up to date and meeting that compliance. And then we have the economic benefits that can come to a business for being more sustainable. And when it comes to waste, it's often in what you're paying for getting rid of your trash where you can find the most benefits. I know we all love looking at our hauler waste bills. If yours is set on auto pay, I recommend you take a look at it. And we are taxed on our trash. Now, the state charges a 17% tax on your trash, and that's on the sale price. And then your county may or may not add an additional tax on top of that. Not every county does. In Hennepin County, it's a 34.5% total tax on your trash. On the other hand, in Ramsey County, it's a total of 70% tax on your trash. So these can add up really fast. Definitely want to look into how you can reduce what you are putting into the trash, because if you can put it into recycling or into organics recycling, those two streams are not taxed. So you could have some great savings there. I want to mention organic recycling, just make sure we all know what we're talking about. Basically, big compost. Composting is more a term that applies to your backyard. It's where you might put banana peels, eggshells, and get some soil for your garden every year. Organic recycling is on a much larger industrial level, and they can accept all foods, including meat, bones, as well as products that are certified compostable, like to-go containers or compostable cups. A higher temperature that organic recycling facilities reach is able to break down those materials, something that cannot happen in your backyard. Organic recycling programs, you also might know them as food scrap programs too. Organic recycling, food scrap, same idea. Back to economic benefits, another one you might be able to achieve would be needing to reduce what you're purchasing. If you're using single-use disposable items every day and you have shelves full of to-go coffee mugs, maybe you're able to then purchase some mugs, some actual reusable mugs to keep in your coffee shop and then reuse those. So you can stop purchasing every month, just do one upfront purchase and use those items, hopefully, for years. I mentioned the benefit of green marketing. Definitely want to make sure that you are telling people about these changes that you're making. You're putting thought, you're putting effort, you're putting money and time into these changes. Make sure you're letting your customers know. You can hang flyers, you can do table tents, you can send an email to your staff. Don't just do these things quietly, like make a big deal out of it. People do notice and people do care. And all of this is part of a very successful industry here in Minnesota. We have 78,000 jobs that are supported by the recycling industry. Which leads me to address the question we always get of, does recycling even work? Before you spend a lot of time on this, like, is it even worth it? And yes, here in the metro area, here in Minnesota, it is worth it. Recycling, it is very regional. And here in Minnesota, due to legislation and due to the markets we have, there's a demand for recycled materials. Think like WestRock in St. Paul that's making cardboard, or Anchor Glass, it's recycling glass. We have many of these businesses in the area that are actually looking for recycled materials. So legislation and the market means that recycling works very well here in the metro area. So if you take a recyclable plastic water bottle, you put it in the recycling bin, you can be very confident that in a month or two, that plastic is going to be back on the shelf, likely as another plastic water bottle, and it'll keep being part of that recycling process. A figure we hear a lot, and it's a little bit misleading, is that 9% of plastic is recycled. And that 9% figure, that includes all plastic that is manufactured in a year. So it's counting vinyl siding for your home. It's counting auto body panels. It's counting hoses. Those are plastics that are not designed to be recyclable. So it is misleading. Maybe part of a different issue. But I just want you to be very confident that when you put time into improving recycling at your business, it is going to pay off. All right, WasteWise, where do we work? We don't do anything with residential properties. We are all about businesses and nonprofits. And that nonprofit does include places of worship. So if you're listening now and you're thinking about your business, also keep in mind places that you might volunteer or where you might worship. Those could be eligible too. And the 5 counties we are currently contracted to work with are Anoka, Hennepin, Ramsey, Scott, and Washington counties. I know not all of you might be in those counties, so I have tried to include in this presentation the low and the no cost changes that you might be able to implement on your own, some areas to focus on. I also know as you get into greater Minnesota, access to recycling, access to organic recycling, it gets more limited. It can be a lot trickier. So we're going to focus more on waste reduction opportunities, because if you're not creating the waste, you don't need to send it anywhere, and that would be the ideal opportunity. There are other counties that have programs. I'm thinking Carver, thinking Dakota. They prefer to do these services in-house per se. So if you are in those counties, reach out to your county and see what they have available for you there. So WasteWise, services are free. It's my overarching message here. I want to make sure you take that away. But when you reach out to me and say, I'm interested in what WasteWise can do, I will connect you to a sustainability specialist, and they will schedule a site visit with you, generally in the next week or two. It's a big team. They have a lot going on next week or two. And they will meet with you and discuss your current operations, any concerns you have, any goals, before going on a walk around your property, looking for areas of potential waste reduction, recycling, and organics recycling. They'll follow up that visit with some recommendations help you decide what recommendations you'd like to move forward with, what's the most practical, what is their grant funding for. They will fill out your grant application for you, make sure that gets all submitted, and then help you implement the changes. They're very hands-on if you need them to be. They will put labels on bins and put the bins, recycling bins, where they need to go. They'll help educate your staff to make sure everyone is on the same page and knows what goes in what bin and why. Try to make this program as simple as possible so that it can really just kind of roll into your day-to-day operations without causing a lot of disruption and chaos to what's happening. And then in the next 6 months and in a year, they'll follow up to see what's working well, what's not working. Is there something else we need to address? Did you need more bins? Do you need a follow-up education system? Like what can we do to make sure this is working? And it's great to see, like, what are you saving? Have you noticed any cost savings anywhere in the operation? Okay, so what are they looking for? All right, and remember that line of reduce, reuse, recycle? That order matters. Your specialists will always look for where they can reduce first, because waste you don't create is waste you don't have to dispose of. So possibilities for waste reduction could be adding hand air dryers instead of paper towels. Or it could be installing a dishwasher in your break room so that you're able to purchase reusable dishes instead of having styrofoam cups by the coffee pot every day. So you know your business best, you'll know where there's opportunities for reuse, and your sustainability specialist can help you look for any that are hidden in there. And then we have reuse. And reuse really varies business to business. If you're looking to be part of like a more circular economy, maybe you have some scraps from your production that you haven't figured out what to do with. Can you use them in a new product? Can you sell them to someone else who's looking to make a different product? Or I have pictured here in the bottom middle, that is a cardboard perforator. And that takes your incoming cardboard and you run it through the perforator and you can turn it into packaging cushion for what you're shipping out. A great reuse opportunity there, especially for retail and if you have online operations. And then we have bins. Bins are like the biggest category we work in. We always want to have paired bins. That means having a trash can, and next to it, there's always going to be a recycling bin. And if it's a right situation for it, or an organics bin. It's not always right. But when it is, you want paired bins. Turns out humans were a little bit lazy and we don't want to walk across the room to recycle. So it's easier when we have bins right next to each other, color-coded, labeled. They can be attractive to kind of fit in with your decor. They can be industrial, whatever you need for your operations. And once again, remembering that we're keeping this easy for your staff. We can get wheels so they can roll stuff. We can get tippers, carts, specialty carts, like if you have lots of plastic film and want to do that, whatever carts you need, they can be well labeled, placed exactly where you need them. Spend a lot of time on bins. And then finally, your specialist will look into organics recycling. And organics recycling, not every business needs it. If you're a restaurant though, or if you're a cafeteria, in general, if you just have a lot of food scraps, organics recycling is probably a good fit for you then. But if you're just you're a law office in a tower, you probably don't need to add organics recycling separately. Maybe your building has it, that's great. We can help you get what you need to participate in the buildings program, but not every business needs to have organics recycling. Here's kind of a list of everything I just said, bins, composting service. If you have a lot of excess cardboard and it's kind of spilling everywhere, maybe you need a compactor to get it baled. If you're giving your guests plastic water bottles when they enter, could you instead get a water bottle filling station and reusable glasses? If you have potential for food recovery, you just need more refrigerators, maybe refrigerators. If illegal dumping is an issue, enclosures and pads in a really clean area can help kind of mitigate that issue. This is definitely not a comprehensive list of everything that's available, Just kind of a list of what we do most commonly. And if you have other ideas, you could definitely talk about it with your specialist. Right, I mentioned your waste bill and how we all read them frequently. Make sure you are. It's likely you have a contract with your hauler. Make sure you read that contract and make sure you know when it is up for renewal. For many of the haulers, it's set up so that they'll send you an email saying, oh, your price is increasing. And if you don't reply and just let auto pay that, that counts as signing the contract. So stay on top of that and make sure you know when your renewal date is. And if possible, if you have some options, shop around and make sure you are getting the best price for your hauling service. Along with that is make sure you have the right size dumpsters and the right level of service. Let's say you have an 8-yard dumpster, but you're noticing that it's only half full every week. Can you go down to a cheaper 4-yard dumpster? Or can you switch to have pickup every 2 weeks? This is something you might kind of have to adjust, especially if you are adding in more recycling or beginning organics recycling. You might need to kind of keep your eye on it and adjust it as time passes. But whatever you can do, and your specialist knows all these things to make sure you're not paying for any excess waste hauling service. If you're looking at your bill and seeing that you're being charged contamination charges, this happens when there is trash basically in your recycling. Could be plastic bags, it could be organics and food scraps. When your recycling is contaminated, it cannot go to the recycling facility. So the recycling hauler cannot pick it up, and instead they charge you a contamination charge. Your specialist can help you figure out, like, why is this happening, and assist with education if it's on your staff's end. If your staff is just confused, maybe they can't tell which dumpster is which, you can add more labels with lots of images, make it very clear to people that what is supposed to go in that dumpster. Okay, I've mentioned grant funding a few times, so here I'll stop teasing you. Here's what is available out there for grant funding. So if you want to find your county and check out kind of what are your options there. And I'm not going to go too in depth because each county is a little bit different. I do want Anoka County businesses to notice that this is up to $10,000 annually. So that's a great opportunity for kind of continual improvement. And also call out that Hennepin, Ramsey, and Washington have grants for up to $50,000 if you have an innovative waste reduction solution. So these are bigger projects. This is not just bins and compost bins. It's a change in your operation that'll produce less waste. Ramsey and Washington also have that up to $50,000 for projects that reduce air pollutants. So if you have an air permit, this could be a good grant opportunity for you. Hennepin also has the Minimize program. This is specifically for food service businesses, up to $5,000 to help those businesses stop the use of single-use plastic. It's kind of an award tier sort of program where you start taking action and you get the gold award, and you get added to the map so that people looking for sustainable dining options can find your food service business. If you're not seeing your county on here, I do suggest that you look online. I mentioned Carver and Dakota. I know they have funds available. Other counties, sorry, I don't have them memorized. Check to see what they might have out there, whether it's resources, grant funding, education, they might have something available for you. All right, finally here, I want to give you a few examples of projects from the last year, just to give you an idea of like the breadth of projects that are out there. First, we have Creative Kids Academy. They have 2 locations in Anoka, and they both use grant funding. And what I like about this example is that they did small things, and it really added up to a large impact. So every day the kids were getting styrofoam cups, and now they used grant funding to get silicone cups and reusable bottles. They already had the dishwasher facility, so they just need to run those cups through the dishwasher and they're ready for the next day. The kids were also going through a ton of paper. the same worksheets over and over again. So they've laminated them, cut down dramatically on their paper usage. They also got indestructible books, so they could stop throwing away books every week, reusable washcloths, and reusable aprons. They were using those flimsy plastic ones before, and now they have these sturdy ones that are going to last for significantly longer. So things that are relatively small, but did add up to more than 34,000 pounds of single-use plastic that is no longer going to the landfill every year. And for the kids, it's just a much more sustainable environment for them to play in. Then we have an example of one of those larger projects. This is Abramson's Nursery in Ramsey County. And this is kind of a project they had in mind for a while, but they needed some grant funding to accomplish it. So they grow a lot of plants, and before they were purchasing their soil components in individual plastic bags and then having to tear the bags open and mix what they want. So it was pallets, it was plastic film wrapping the pallets, and it was plastic bags. Instead, they used that larger grant and they used that funding to build a shed. And now they get dump trucks full of dirt and soil amendments delivered, and they can mix their own right on site. So that's cut down dramatically on the amount of plastic they're sending to the landfill, as well as the wood waste from the pallets. So think creatively. Don't just think bins, think about what are some other changes to your operations that are possible. And I wanted to finish with just like a really solid example of one of our most common projects. We have the Shakopee Brew Hall down in Scott County, and they just focused on the basics, improve recycling and begin organics recycling. You can see these bins here, they're bright, they look good, they're color coded and labeled. They even did organics in the front of house where their customers are. A lot of times we just do organics back of house because customers can get confused as to what goes into what bin. But theirs is pretty simple. They just kind of have pizza on site, so they were confident that people could figure out what would go into the organics bin there. You can see they've diverted more than 8,000 pounds of food scraps from the landfill annually, which is huge, and they really boosted their organics recycling as well. Okay, I hope that gave you a good idea of some projects that other businesses are out there doing. My big takeaway message here is that the WasteWise services were free. Let the experts give you some guidance, some recommendation, and help you apply for the grant funding that is out there. Being more sustainable can help you save money, but it can also kind of set you up for a more sustainable business community in the future here. Here's my contact info. Now, I'm just the outreach coordinator. So when you reach out to me, I will be connecting you with a sustainability specialist who works in your county. They're the experts on the program. They will be the ones coming out to visit you. I don't want you to feel like I'm just passing you off because I don't want to talk to you. I do. You don't want me to visit. You want the expert to visit. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and I am ready for your questions now.
Thank you, Jessie. Please raise your hand if you have questions or submit your questions in the chat. We can address either way.
I can share the slide deck. I see that question.
Tiffany, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, sorry. I am wondering if there are more counties in the future that are going to be offering funding or grants. Is that a thing on the purview?
Sorry, I cannot help with that one. I am not sure. Yeah, where are you located?
In Mankato, actually North Mankato, so Nicollet County.
Okay. I can check, see if anyone's heard anything. And let you know, but off the bat here, I do not know of any future development for that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I did reach out to them, didn't get much response back. Okay. Is there anything that we can do to help with that?
In terms of like just letting the community know there's interest and demand for that?
Yeah, or the county itself.
Yeah. I would just say, can you give them a call? Let your commissioners know that you're interested in this and you see it as a benefit. Mankato does have a pretty active like zero waste group.
Hmm.
You can check in with them, see if they have any influence on anyone that you can contribute to there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Diana and then Jessica.
Hi, I'm Deanna Grandine. I have a business in Hennepin County that does
Okay.
landscaping. So wondering if there is a place or a partnership with recycling the pots that you would use for landscaping versus not the little thinner plastic stuff for all the annuals is. That's what we go through. We go through all the big pots, and right now we do have a part-time partner that is reusing, but they're not always wanting the stuff. So is there another place that we can bring them? Because I don't have that information, nor does my landscape association that would help put other people there as well.
Okay. I think that's really on a case-by-case basis. If you want to reach out, I can connect you with one of the Hennepin specialists who can just dig deeper into that issue. I know you're not the only one struggling with the black plastic from the pots. We hear that one a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, it's there's enough of us companies out there creating enough of it. So I do have a small second question, as my second business is in Cass County, which was not listed here. And where do we get the really nice stickers that go on the cans to help our guests make sure that they're putting them in the right cans and stop putting garbage? Like just in the regular, I'll say curbside style residential can. I'm just looking for the stickers. Can I be hooked up with that somehow?
The ones we do use are from each of the counties we work with. They each have a little bit different on that. I don't know if Cass County has any stickers that they want businesses to be using or residences to be using in that category.
I could use
I can
that
check and
connection
see
then
if
as
we
well.
have
as
any.
I know we ship all of our recycling down to Minneapolis, and that's as
Okay.
much information as I got.
Yeah, okay, Cass County labels. I'll make a note of that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, we'll go to Jessica and then we'll address some of the questions in the chat. And there is also some new resources that are being put in the chat. Jessica.
Hi.
Hello.
So I had a couple questions. We are actually an Aveda salon, so a lot of the products that we use, anything from our color to our just tools, beverages, we try to buy things that are already in aluminum or recycled cardboards ahead of time. But the shopping center that we're located in has essentially just a general waste and like a cardboard recycling, but a lot of our like color tubes could be recycled, and like all kinds of things that we're using could be recycled but aren't included in the recycling program at the shopping center.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure as far as being a private business in a community shopping center kind of area, how do I go about some of this? Also, my space is we use up every square foot in our salon for customer space, so I don't have a lot of space for bins. I've considered doing green circle salons, which is like, if you've heard of them, so is that like separate from this, or would that be something good to look into because we're a salon and they could take like our used hair color and stuff like that?
Yeah, that is separate from WasteWise. That is a program we do connect businesses to.
Okay.
Just because it is kind of, that taking that additional step to get rid of all of your products in a more sustainable manner. Thank you for bringing up the shopping mall question, though I neglected to mention that we can, whether your space is leased or rented or owned, WasteWise can help there. It sounds like for you, maybe it would be best if WasteWise has a conversation with your landlord. Of course, if this is something you're comfortable with, we know there's a lot going on.
It would be amazing if they would bring in a better waste. We just got recycling like a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so that was like, oh, okay.
You're probably not the only business in that shopping mall feeling that way, I'm guessing.
Right. Yeah.
So there could be, if there's enough interest in expanding the recycling
Okay.
options. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it can be a joint conversation with
Okay.
you and the landlord, or just with the landlord, whatever preference you
Yeah.
have for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know
Perfect.
space both back where the dumpsters are can frequently be an issue, can get crowded back there
Yeah.
too, as
Right.
well as inside. So there's really slim, they're called slim gyms, slim
Yep.
dumpster bins that are available, or countertop ones, maybe under
Okay.
the desk.
Okay.
There's options.
Okay.
Maybe we can wedge a bin in there somewhere.
Right. Right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
thank
green
you.
circle salons would be a good idea for us. As far as like grants and stuff like that go, would that work with like green circle salons, or only if we're doing like the WasteWise programs?
So I do believe Green Circle Salons does, I believe it's fee-based. I think you like
Yes.
subscribe to
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And I do not believe the grant funding from the counties will pay for that. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Good
Perfect.
question, though. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for your question. I'm going to take a question now that's in the chat for Jesse. Is there any assistance with battery recycling?
Ooh, that's another good one. So it really depends on what sort of battery we're talking about here. Whether it's at home, maybe just getting rid of the ones at home, you've noticed it's become harder to find a place to put them. And that's because they're a real fire danger. If you hear about a recycling facility burning down, it's probably because a battery, they kind of like spontaneously combust, especially the lithium ion ones. So if those end up in a recycling facility and start on fire, they burn the whole thing down. So whether it's just your AA or your lithium ion, people are a lot more cautious now. They no longer put battery recycling in the front of every library and police station. So those do need to go to hazardous waste. If it's this batteries that you're using for work for some manufacturing option, you have a large quantity of them, you could probably figure out some sort of pickup situation. But in general, it's a hazardous waste with the batteries.
Thank
They are
you.
lithium ion. Yeah, so the lithium ion ones are the more fire danger batteries. Yeah.
All right. We have another question from George. George, what question do you have for Jesse?
Hi. So I own a small woodworking and welding shop, and I've relied heavily on recycled materials for my material that I use in my building.
Oh.
And so I'm wondering, there could potentially be a real big growth for my company to utilize like scrap iron, as well as like trees that have been taken down. And because I process all of those into basically brand new lumber and brand new steel. And so this is my first meeting, and I just wanted to kind of get that word out that my small business relies a lot on recycled materials.
Okay, so that's great to know. WasteWise, we are vendor neutral. We're never going to say use this hauler versus that hauler, but we do keep a list of resources out there for kind of outlets. If we have, sometimes we have like artists say, I'm an art teacher and I love all the scraps of felt, and then we can know that this is a good place to refer a business that mysteriously has large quantities of felt. So
Yeah.
George, if you want to send your information in, I can add that to the list. And
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great.
if we have someone just saying like we have a kind of a one-time load of weird scrap metal, we can send them your way. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And if you haul it, it'll be even better.
Absolutely.
Okay.
George, welcome to this call. I'm glad you're joining us. Hope you join us again next month. And Jesse, can you put your contact information and where George and others might share that information again in the chat? Would be helpful. That'd be great. We have another question from I don't want to mispronounce it. Nuradin? Oops, you're muted. You're muted.
There you go. Oh, no. Do you want to type it in the chat?
That'd be great. Thank you. Any other questions? I have a colleague, Mark Simmer, on the line too, looking at the chat. Any other questions in the chat that we might have missed? We'll wait for the new question to arrive. Okay. Jesse, is there any other resources or links to websites that you would recommend for others to look at? Or I'm also curious maybe about some of the other ways for some of the individuals in greater Minnesota to look for some resources.
Yeah, that is a great question. Yeah, so if it's just coming down to like where can I save money, definitely start with checking out your hauler bill. Sometimes there's surprises on there. Check it out and make sure you understand what's happening there and just verify there's no potential for any savings on that bill. So start there and then look at what are places where you can focus on waste reduction. So what's something you're buying every single month, and is there a possibility for buying it once and then continuing to reuse it? Sorry, checking. So yeah, waste reduction, huge opportunity there for businesses that don't have as easy access for recycling and organics recycling. You know, things are kind of always changing. There's always new things being added, new opportunities being opened. So just kind of keep listening out for those opportunities and see what might be coming to your area and is something that you can benefit from. It kind of really
Thank you.
varies hugely business to business. So some businesses all have, you know, a break room. So if you're using single-use dishes in your break room every day, that would be a good place to focus on and make sure your sink works and have some dish soap instead, and you can stop buying cups.
And I just want to point out some of the resources
That's a good idea.
that Mark Simmer has put in the chat. He is part of our small business assistance team. So the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency does have some grants, and there's a link in there. And they also have an ombudsman that can answer some questions. And so more information is on there too with the link to theirs. And I'll share that link too here. Okay, then now do you see the question in the chat?
Yeah.
Jesse, the latest one. Reach.
So I don't think it's a question. I think it's just more informing us about
Okay, yeah.
the grant. I'm not quite clear though, what is the grant? Would you mind typing the name in?
Okay. Is there any other questions for Jesse or for others on the call? If you're a small business, if you are a support org and have a question for the collective group, this is also a time we can take those questions. And if we don't have the answers, hopefully someone on the call will know how to direct you. Amanda, what is your question?
Hi, my company is sourcing hard to recycle industrial plastics. We're looking specifically for nylons, PA6s, PA66s, and PA12s. I know that typically that cannot or is not recycled. We don't have the ability at the moment to take that waste stream from post-consumers because we don't have a way to clean it, but we are looking for the post-industrial waste. And I was wondering if you guys like direct us or direct people to other businesses and help them connect.
Yeah, we're always looking for more outlets for very specific plastics here, like you're mentioning, or like George was talking about scrap metal.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to send me your information, I can add it to the list so that when we are with a business that has an excess of the PA6 plastics you're mentioning.
Yep.
We can, give them your name.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Now, we are not in Hennepin County. We're currently in Carver County. Does that make a difference?
Not to how we would work with you. It might make a difference
Okay.
depending on like what businesses we would refer to you and
Okay,
how far the transportation is.
gotcha.
But that would be a later conversation. Yeah.
We need tons,
Tons of it. Okay.
tons.
So you would like a regular route.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to see all these connections being made.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions for Jesse or on other topics that you're seeking solutions for? Okay. Are there other topic areas or speakers that you'd like to hear from in future months? As you know, we host these calls the second Tuesday of every month at 2:00, and we want to bring topics that are the most relevant to you. So in the chat or raise your hand on topics or speakers that you'd like to hear from, and we're happy to coordinate that. I will also put in the chat, we have a startup and small business calendar. And so if you're an entrepreneurial support org or a business, you might find this very helpful. Multiple organizations use this. So you can my dog says hello, help coordinate some of the resources. I see the question in the chat of how to get your business licensed or registered. And I will put in a sheet that our team put together on the 5 steps to starting a business that you'll find really helpful. Okay. Anything else? We can also give you time back. 5 steps in now, and I will stay on if there's other questions. Jesse, I'm really thankful. Oh, here's some more questions. There also a question about other financial resources. I will put a matrix in of the funding that we have at Deed. If our partners are on the call or others that have some new funding opportunities for businesses, please share that as well. But to Jesse, thank you so much for being part of the call. Obviously, people found what you had to share very important and relevant to their day-to-day work. We thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
And I just put in the 5 steps to starting your own business. And I will also then share our funding matrix, which you can find on our website. Let me and you can also call our small business office, yes, with any sort of questions. And here's the slide deck of how to get a hold of us. Our small business assistance team, you can email at smallbusiness@state.mn.us. There's also an intake form, and there is the QR code for our website, joinusmn/small business. And here are the resources for small businesses with some of the funding opportunities. On the website, we do have an interactive matrix, so you can differentiate what part of the state you're in, what type of capital you're looking for, whether that be lending or direct investment grants. So hopefully this is a good place to start for all of you. So without any other questions, I will give you some time back today. Thank you so much once again, Jesse, for joining us. Thanks to each of you for giving up time in your day. to connect and learn together. I hope this was valuable and you walked away with some new information. I also hope to see you next month on the second Tuesday at 2 o'clock for the Minnesota Small Business Call. Thank you.